Okay,
Awesome.
perfecto.
So anyways, I was cheering for myself. That's what you didn't hear. And I've been just saying that I love just watching everything of this week, all the other interviews and stuff that you did.
Yeah, it's been really great to have your support and just to have you on tonight. I've been really excited about this one, and also that background.
I
What's
know.
up with that? It
I
looks
know.
familiar.
It does. Just this guy, like I said, I've seen on Twitch and Twitter, and Instagram and Discord. He's always drawing and stuff.
Yeah, that guy. He's always drawing. He's gonna burn himself out one day. Keeps it up. But I do have a very important question for you. It's been on my mind for a while.
Mhm.
Um, what is going on with your Animal Crossing villagers? Are they okay? Do they need a stimulus package? What's happening?
They probably do need a stimulus package. I actually went to play last night, like I said, and it was late, so everything was closed. And I was, checking out my island, and I went to my campsite, and I saw a spider. So I was like, I'm gonna take that as a sign, and I turned the game off. I think I spoke to like 3 villagers, and they were all like, "I missed you, and I understand sometimes you need a break." And this, I'm like, "Why are y'all tugging at my heartstrings like this?"
All the time.
But the thing is, what happened besides just like work getting the best of me, I just had things I wanted to do, and I think I overwhelmed and psyched myself out that I just put the game away because I wanted to like relocate and move stuff around, and I had this like idea of like a beach boardwalk thing, and I wanted to move the playground over here and like move the carnival over here, and I was like, I was just getting exhausted at the thought of doing all that stuff, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah, Animal Crossing is a lot of work. We get a $60 game, but we're basically making the game for ourselves.
Yeah, but I'm just so happy not to be like so poor, like game poor anymore. you know, like I paid all my loans off to Tom Nook the Crook, so I can just enjoy actually making it the space that's in my brain.
That is fantastic. So I want to switch gears from the games real quick, and just talk about the genesis of your brand, Simply Robotics and Diverse Tunes. How did that come about?
Which one are we going with first?
Let's go with Simply Robotics.
Okay, so Simply Robotics started because I had programming homework in college, and we had to submit our codes via the website. So we had to make a website. So maybe I was like 19 and with a website, and I was super into Janelle Monet at the time. And her thing is like androids.
Right.
So Simply Robotics, that's where the name came from. And then after college, it was my portfolio site. And then when I decided I didn't really want to be an animator anymore, it became my blog for attending animation related events and stuff. And then the blog part kind of really sticked with it more so than the portfolio part.
Hmm.
And it just keeps growing. Like it's it's definitely not what I would have imagined back when I was like 19. Um,
Nice.
and then as far as diverse tunes, that was an opportunity that kind of just like fell into my lap.
Hmm.
I was a programming coordinator for a film festival here in New York City called Black Web Fest. And the founder ended up getting double booked for a panel. So she asked me to moderate the panel. And I called on some Black folks that I worked with at Blue Sky. And we did this Black in Animation panel back in 2018 for what was that conference? Ooh, it's at St. Francis College, and I think it's Blurred City. It's not Blurred Con. Blurred Con is in DC. I think it's Blurred City. Yes, Blurred City, Brooklyn. And the success of doing that panel, people in the audience were like, "Oh my gosh, this was so good. When's the next one gonna be?"
Hmm.
They had like nieces, cousins, or whatever that they thought could benefit from something like this. So one of my childhood friends was like, "We need to do this again," and so it just snowballed ever since that. But this was not something I was like, I'm gonna do this thing and I wanted to be this other thing. It was like, okay.
Just okay, and I'm just gonna roll with it. And now you're
I
you're
mean,
just rocking it.
yeah, people are so grateful for it. And I kind of feel like maybe it wouldn't have fallen into my lap, if I wasn't able to really continue carrying it.
Hmm. It's interesting because when we met, the reason why we met was because of Pilar, who we had on last night. and that was my first time encountering your panel as a whole, and I was just in awe at the fact that you were able to pull all these amazing black artists, animators in the industry together and just have these vulnerable conversations. Did you ever expect it to get to a point where you would have that sort of aesthetic to it? Did you always think it was going to be just straight up, just hey, it's us, it's black people. We're talking about our struggles. We're talking about how we fit into the industry, how we're going to try to change it.
I had very limited vision with this thing, so I think that's why it really helps that I have like a co-founder, and we're able to bounce ideas and things off of that. And with her, she's encouraged me to be like, okay, so like, what do you want to do with this thing? What does she wants to do with this thing? And what are the ways that we can grow and kind of do a variety of our things together? The more that I've done DiverseToons panels and events and engaging with the community and further understanding that it's really a lack of resources when it comes to specifically Black people, but then other people of color, it's like, how can we help to facilitate that need and getting the resources to like our people?
Nice. What was
Yeah.
it like transitioning from having event spaces and being in a physical location to doing virtual events?
What was strange enough is we were already planning on doing like virtual programming. I think we really lucked out to have stumbled upon a platform that allowed us to pivot very quickly. And we always wanted, even though we were a big thing about DiverseToons was catering to the East Coast, because California gets all the cool animation events, the mixers, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're about like, connecting the tri-state area in terms of like animation and things like that. So by making the pivot to being virtual, it really allowed us just to broaden the people that we've connected with. And we picked up a rhythm pretty quickly. And I will give y'all a little bit of exclusive is that we're doing things for this year slightly different, than last year. And it's just DiverseToons is really growing almost faster than like I could have imagined. And again, I'm very grateful for that. But it's also very, very exciting.
That's wonderful. I want to know, because you're an entrepreneur, what are some of the pitfalls or challenges that you've had to overcome with both your brands or just either one of them?
Yeah, I think like a hurdle that I overcome is that I don't accept that title willingly all the time, because I'm not the entrepreneur that's like quit your job and completely follow your creative desires. Me personally am like, I do want the consistent check and the healthcare and all that sort of stuff. And that's also part of the reason why I decided that I work in production management in the animation industry, and I'm fine with doing that 9 to 5 and being creative outside of that. And it's not easy to do your 40 hours or plus if you have OT and then still try to give enough of yourself to your creative things. I think something that's more recently becoming challenging for me is like understanding taxes and stuff like that. Like I've gone to a bunch of taxes for artist stuff, but it's still a bit challenging. So like I'm super hyper paranoid of making sure like I have designated accounts for stuff. So this is maybe too much, but I still think this is very important, is as you're starting to establish yourself, if you don't have your LLC or a tax whatever number, is like at least distinguishing bank accounts and making sure that your personal finances is your personal stuff, and whatever money you're generating from the things that you do are separate. And I'm just, would like to speak with like a business person to better understand how things should be like filed legally and whatever, making sure all that stuff's okay. Because like the government seems to like, give people who are rich a pass, but like with us, they will snatch you up real quick, and I don't want to be snatched up.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be snatched up either.
Right. So that's something that like I think is a bit more challenging. The second thing, which I've been hesitating to tweet about, is just like having your art stolen and mass produced. And I have this piece I created like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. And I feel like every couple months it just resurfaces and it looks so bad the way that people have manipulated it.
Hmm.
And I think that's part of a entrepreneurial struggle. If you are an illustrator or sometimes creating the stuff that you can create, people seem to really believe that once it's on the internet, it's free game. So like, how do you navigate some of your feelings with that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it can be difficult. I've had a few encounters with people who would either steal the artwork or the name itself because it's so close to some other things like this game called Hab Oh Hotel. So usually people confuse me with that.
Oh,
Yeah, it was so weird, but I think, yeah, like you said, it's kind of just part of the circle of what it is to be an entrepreneur, and that's some of the things you just have to learn how to overcome or just live with. Can you speak to the idea of representation in the animation industry and how important it is now more than ever, specifically with like feature films?
I feel like there's a underlying question even within that. Like, it's what do you want me to answer?
Well, I mean, how do you feel about where we're at now? I guess the question should be, how do you feel about where we're at now than we were, let's say, 15, 20 years ago?
Okay, so we're just making progress. I feel like we're continuing to make, if we have like a long line and it has, ticks, and this is like Black people's representation in cartoon, illustration, animation, we're definitely making a tick right now with that. Like, we're seeing slightly more diverse Black characters on screen, animated characters on screen. They, to me, are still a little bit of you can say a stereotype or a typecast or whatever of them. But I think we have come a great way if you think about that. When we were being depicted, it was all like minstrel type of stuff, right?
Hmm.
So it's like great that we have characters that are representative of Black people and are caricatures, but they're not like racist and offensive, right?
Hmm.
But I really still feel like we're at the tip of an iceberg and there's so much beneath the surface because um Black people aren't solely Black Americans, like what is the experience of Black people who are like in Europe, who are in Latin countries, who are on the continent, who are in the Caribbean.
Hmm.
A lot of us have intersections, where we come from many different cultures and we have different orientations and stuff like that, can speak multiple languages. And we haven't gotten there yet, showing just how vast of a people we are. So I think that's what we can continue to push for. And I am not holding people who aren't Black accountable for that representation at all. I'm more so like, we need the opportunities and the access to be able to tell our stories. And so I think also that's a way that we have to make a lot of significant progress. And feature films is like the slowest moving thing too with animation. We're going to see that stuff happen sooner than later in shorts,
Hmm.
but especially if studios are buying other studios and closing studios down, it's like, what do we have to work with?
Yeah. When it comes to that and acquiring studios and whatnot, do you feel that that could be an issue going forward where we lose a bit of that creative energy from being independent or having our own say? Or do you feel like having that backing could make better films going forward or better cartoons?
Um, I just think it's just a monopoly. So it just really, it hurts having more diverse stories, diverse as inclusive as that word can be, because if it's only three or four studios making the feature film content and they're all actually trying to like beat each other, and they don't step out of the norm because they have a means to an end of what they're doing, we're always going to get the same type of stuff. So for me, it would be ideal if those studios would give back some of the revenue to smaller studios, to startups, to independent people and projects, to at least do like a short. That's
Hmm.
what I say, because I understand it's very expensive and risky to give, I don't know, unknowns the opportunity to make a blockbuster feature film, whatever, super high budget. But it would feel a little bit better if there was more of a turnover in support in the smaller people, the smaller studios.
Yeah, it's actually a really good perspective to have on that because I feel, for me personally, I feel like once there's like a duality to it because once you have that acquisition, then there is that opportunity for those people to have those funds to do what they want to do. But at the same time, like you were saying, everybody ends up making the same looking thing or same story or same characters, and we've seen that. I'm not going to say no names, but we've seen that.
Yes. And
Yeah.
we're also seeing that, like, I know we're talking about animation, but in terms of like live action, like we like we understand like millennials or whatever are super nostalgic,
Hmm.
but it's like we know these properties make money, so we're going to keep reinventing and reimaging this property because we know like we have this demographic that's so attached to it. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, we are attached to it, but because of what it meant and what it signifies from like 15 years ago, whatever. But like, why don't you find a new way to still give us that feeling, but with new characters, stories, all sorts of stuff like that?
Yeah. Are there any black filmmakers, animators, or just films that you've seen recently that you would highly recommend for us to check out?
Um, I think like just in terms of short films, there's Canvas, right? Um, I am interested in seeing Everett Downing's Netflix TV show, where I'm not even sure when it's supposed to come out,
Okay.
but I think it's called like My Dad the Bounty Hunter. And
Ooh.
it's really, really cool because it's a dad. It's like a family. So I guess you could think of it a little bit like Incredibles, and they're in space, and the dad's like an alien bounty hunter, and there's things that's happening. He has like kids, and it's just like this superhero family. And I'm not even sure if the parents are together. I can't remember that clearly, but I think that's something to definitely look out for. I can't really speak too much about. I'm aware that things are happening in the future, like
Hmm.
So I think, not I think I can say with confidence we can look forward and be excited about things that's coming in the future, but I'm not too sure about things that's happening now.
Hmm.
Side note, there is Chaz Bottoms. He's working on a animated short musical.
Oh.
Um, Hopefully, I'm not too sure when his anticipated release date is either, but he's a black kid from Cleveland, Ohio. I should say he's not a kid. He's definitely like in his like 20s, and he's doing a lot of cool stuff. And I think we can. That's something to look out for as well. But yeah, yeah. And then I mean, Hair Love that did its thing last year, or right, it was last
I
year.
think so. I still have
Yeah,
yet to see it. I feel bad.
but
I feel
it's
yeah.
just like
I
it's
feel
so
so
short.
yeah. I know. I just haven't. I gotta. Oh, you know what? I'll do it tonight. I will do it
Sure.
tonight. Switching back to video games, I have a few questions on that area
Okay.
because you have this word that you love to use, and it always
Oh.
cracks me up every time it comes out. Spooky game. What is what to you is a spooky game?
Okay, so I am a very proud scaredy cat. I have a very low threshold for being scared about of stuff. So usually, if things are like very violent, if there's like blood, ghost, zombies, monsters, um, demons, like anything, if it's super dark, like not a lot of light,
Hmm.
um, basically anything that could be the opposite of like Lisa Frank.
Okay.
It's it's kind of like spooky.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's about it. So it doesn't need to even have like a jump scare to scare me. I'm just like music too, because they like to play that like suspenseful music.
Hmm.
I'm like, no,
So you would never touch Luigi's Mansion?
that's so funny because I bought it,
Okay.
so I have it. But I'm just like, I think I want to play it first off stream just in case.
Hmm.
So then I could compose myself a little bit better on stream. But I was playing Ori last summer, and I jumped and I screamed because I forgot like controllers vibrate.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
that's
music
true.
changed and something happened and the controller vibrated. I was a mess. So but that's not a spooky game, but that's just,
A
we'll
little
see how I
suspenseful.
handle Luigi's Mansion.
I would kill to see you play Luigi's
I'm
Mansion.
gonna play it off stream first because
Yeah.
I'm gonna embarrass myself, and then I'll bring it to the stream.
Outside of just you streaming, because we'll get to that soon. During the pandemic, were there any games that you kind of held on to while you were, off work or when you weren't animating or drawing?
Yes, and that is The Sims. My cousin, I saw her in here. I went back to The Sims. That's how I started streaming, was just playing that because that's kind of what I knew for a while. Um, I'm so happy with the advancements of Sims, even though I know that there are specifically Black women gamers that have helped to get Sims 4 to where it is now, which I think is really dope.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't play Sims 3. I think I barely played it. So to go from Sims 2 to Sims 4, I was just like, wow, like this is really great. This is amazing. I love the Sims community with their modders and custom content. And now, like, I mean, the hairstyles for my Black characters they just give me life all the time.
Oh yeah, the modders for black textured hair, like they need to hire them
Yeah.
immediately.
And the clothes and the makeup and like everything.
Yeah. So the last question I have in terms of video games, has there been anything you've played or know about that you would want to see as a feature film, like an animated film?
Yeah, so I am not too sure. Um, because I kind of just like things where they are. Like
Hmm.
I kind of just like everybody stays in your lane. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't play that much like adventure storytelling games,
Hmm.
so I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. But we can talk about this Mortal Kombat trailer
Oh yeah, let's talk about it. First of
because
all, I'm surprised you even looked at it because you know what Mortal Kombat is.
yes, this is very funny to me because I used to play the game when I was younger, right,
Okay.
with my cousins, right? And about a couple years ago, I watched a movie for the first time,
Hmm.
and I had a great time. As bad as the movie is, I had a great time. And so, in my like splurge, if you will, when I bought Luigi's Mansion, I also bought Mortal Kombat for the Switch.
You lying.
I did, and I'm also gonna first round play that off stream to catch my bearings. So I was like feeling like, okay, I can do this. I'm gonna watch the trailer, and I watched the trailer, and I was just like, the whole time I was like,
She was like, oh no, I can't look.
I was like, can't. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna watch this movie because the trailer is stressing me out.
Your cousin getting a little hype in the chat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Shout out to her.
So do you think that you'll actually be able to play and beat Mortal Kombat, or will you be like, oh nah, this is too much?
I'm gonna obviously play it on like possibly the easiest mode.
Hmm.
Like if there's super easy and easy, I'm just gonna go with easy,
Hmm.
and let's see how I do. And then I'm probably not gonna make it more difficult, but I want to see how far I can get.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
And also, I do have it on the Switch, so you already know what time it is.
But also, it's not as like the graphics on the Switch. It's not like PlayStation, Xbox graphics. So I should be
Yeah,
okay.
it's a little
better.
low. Yeah, it's a little low res, but it's
Yeah.
still going to be gross.
I'm sure. Yeah, there was so much blood in that trailer. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can't wait for the movie. Now with Twitch and streaming, I've seen you do it a few times. I've been there for those Sims 4 streams where things weren't going well.
Oh
I've
my
been there
gosh.
for the Super Lucky's Tale adventure game. I've also been there for your podcast as well. What do you find fascinating or interesting about Twitch that gives you a little bit more liberty over some of the other projects or things you've done in your spare time?
I thought of Twitch as just kind of being its own like world and bubble, So for me, I'm not on here to like establish some sort of gamer or streamer presence. It was really like an escape from everything else that I was doing. So Twitch just made the most sense for me to do these things in comparison to YouTube, because YouTube for me still felt like a little bit like professional.
Mm-hmm.
But just from seeing the stuff that everybody else was doing on here, I was just like, yeah, like Twitch is the spot. Like, you know, like I've so far had a good experience on here. I'm really enjoying the people that I've been discovering on here. Did I answer your question? I feel like you asked me a little bit more.
No, I feel like that fits it. Do you have any
Oh.
favorite streamers you like to go to or watch on the regular?
No.
Like, nope.
No. I will say actually there's this like her name is like something like a grandma streamer. And I found her because I was creeping the Overcooked game. Is that the game I was playing? Overcooked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, was that the game I was playing? And she came up and like she plays Sims as well. And her like little bio just about like how her grandson, I guess, helped set her up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought she was fun, but I haven't seen her in a while. But no, I just like, you know, sometimes it shows you on Twitch to see who your people are watching.
Yeah.
So I would just, you know, explore that, and I don't know. You know, I don't know, whatever. I'm just down to check out anything.
You're just down to just hang out and learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I vibe with that. Now, as a Black woman in the animation industry and just in the art world as a whole, and I know we've talked about where we've come and where we are now. What are some things that you would like to see specifically change in the future for us, for the kids?
What I would like to see change for the future, it just really goes back to like my own personal mission statement would be like access, you know, to resources and to opportunities. I think Viola Davis, you know, once said that in one of her speeches, that that's the only thing that really sets us apart is we don't have the access to opportunities. So just for a little bit of story time, when I was in high school and I was in the art program in high school here in Queens, my mom was like, you need to go ask your art teacher about some like summer art programs or something that the city offers, like free programs, you know, because she was like, you better find a free program to go to. And I went to my teacher and she opened a drawer in her desk and it had like all these flyers and stuff of art programs throughout New York City. And she just didn't share them with us. This was like in the spring.
Wow.
And she was like, well, you know, if you want like your classmates to know about this, you can just make photocopies and give it to them yourself. And I was like, you're the whole teacher. Like, you know, why are you being like this? And I just think about the fact that, you know, had my mom not pushed me to inquire about that, you know, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to an art program like at the Whitney and at MoMA and at the Jamaica Art Center. I went to art classes at Cooper Union, all like in high school before college, all for free.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
By doing all that stuff, I was able to develop a portfolio to get into art school for college. But think about if we never did that, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity because someone else was withholding the resources from us, you know? So that's what I really want. I think by having more of us in these spaces, we can cut out like the middle people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I can say that's like something we're working on for DiverseToons is getting partnerships with schools, which is difficult, you know, but we're trying to see the ways that we can, I shouldn't even say solely schools, but seeing the way that we can work with already established entities to get like animation resources exposure to, I should say, school age children, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really bad because I don't want to use the word bad, but it's unfortunate that there are so many schools that have cut art programs. There are so many schools that do have those programs, but teachers who, similar to the one you had, just don't care or they don't put in enough effort. And there are a lot of children, there are a lot of Black and brown children who really love cartoons, who love animation, who love video games, who want to be in those worlds. And the fact that they're so stifled early, it's sad to see. So I'm really hoping, like you're saying, that we do, or that we're more able to give them that access some way or another. Even if we have to come up with the funds ourselves and be like, hey, here's a tablet, hey, here's free museum tours, here's this, here's that, because it needs to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And my thing is like everybody who was posting up those black squares with those white letters, back in June, like, okay, where are y'all now?
Tell them.
What are y'all doing? Where's the receipts?
Mm-hmm.
I need to see what y'all been doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, you know what really, and I wasn't surprised, but what really kind of like just ruffled me a little bit was when all the studios were like, "Hey, we're looking for some black animators, we're looking for black artists," and everybody was getting hype, and then all of a sudden, quiet, crickets everywhere.
Yeah,
and that's just that performativeness is dangerous
and disgusting.
Yeah.
We call it disgusting because people were getting ghosts, and it's like, okay, so you're adding, further injury to these people,
Yeah, it's terrible. Now switching back to something a little bit more lighthearted. Obviously you consume and watch cartoons, as do I. Now there is a little bit of a dissonance between people who enjoy them, where some people feel that cartoons are just for kids, and cartoons aren't really something that an adult should be watching. How do you speak to people like that? How would you explain to someone like, "Hey, cartoons aren't just for young children; adults can enjoy them too"? How would you go about that?
Well, one thing I always found weird about that is like these cartoons aren't being made by children. Like it's just so like it's not for kids, yeah, but it's adults making this stuff. And I mean, it's not for adults, but it's adults making these things. And like, I don't know, when people kind of say stuff like that, I kind of just act like it just doesn't exist. My actual issue is people really treating kids as if they are not smart. And I feel like a lot of kids' content actually is dumbed down. And I'm like, kids are capable of like understanding a little bit meatier subject matters, because they're already thinking of things. They're getting exposure, especially with the internet as it is now. They're getting exposed to so much. And I just feel like we don't have to dumb down cartoons so much because they're for kids. They're capable. Yeah. But when people say that like adults are weird for watching cartoons, I'm like, okay, whatever. You could say anyone's weird for watching anything. Like,
True.
You're weird because you're watching reality TV. Like, why are you watching
not reality TV?
Yeah, but you can say you're weird for watching movies too, because movies like aren't real, or like magic isn't real, or whatever.
Wait, magic's not real?
It depends on who you talk to. I don't know.
What has been, or what can you name maybe like the top 3 cartoons you've seen in like the last year or so that really stood out to you?
TV shows or movies?
Let's go with TV shows. Yeah.
Top 3 TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
My personal favorite is Bob's Burgers, and I don't think that fits the time span, but I watch Bob's Burgers religiously, and it's like my happy place. I really, really, really enjoy that. I would say, and maybe this is just throwing it in there because it's new, but I've been really enjoying Kid Cosmic.
Oh, I gotta watch that. I've been hearing good things.
Yeah. It's just like, I feel like it's refreshing. The way that I was saying earlier about like recreating some of the nostalgia of older shows, like giving us new like characters and stuff like that. I feel like it's really doing that. And then in terms of another TV show, I really need to watch Craig of the Creek, but I want to give that an honorable mention as my third one.
I've seen an episode.
You have?
Yeah, it's actually pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, just from everything I've seen on social media. But I hope it's on like HBO Max or something. Then I might be. I don't know where it is, and maybe that's a me problem.
It's totally fine. It might be on HBO because they did acquisition a lot of the Cartoon Network shows.
Exactly.
Recently.
Yeah.
So 2 more questions before we get into our Q&A. This one's going to be really funny.
Oh no.
You've seen both Avatar series now, right?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Shameless plug. We got a podcast episode about it.
Yes, go check it out. Aang or Korra?
What do you mean, Aang or Korra? What?
Just Aang or Korra. I mean, when you think of those names, who do you think is better?
I always think people saying Katara, Aang or Korra.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Aang.
Why?
because he has my heart. And Korra was super annoying for me.
I'm
So it's more like a personality thing. It's not
yeah.
like their avatar journey. Aang I found to be a lot of sweetheart, and I just wanted to hug him, and stuff like that.
His little
Katara, I
bald
just wanted
head.
to shake her, just give her a
I'm
good
not
shake.
going front. There were moments where I was watching Korra and I'm just like, this show could be totally fine without her. We got everybody else. We got Bolin. We got Mako. Like they would just kill it without her.
No, no, you needed her. They didn't need the romance that was in there. They could have taken out all the romance, like
Yeah,
5% romance.
yeah. I don't honestly. I could do without it. Period. In a lot of animated television shows, but everybody's got their thing.
Hmm.
Now the next question is, because we can talk about Avatar all day, but I don't want to get stuck on it. Next question is, how do you feel about places like HBO Max or Netflix or any of the streaming platforms kind of, in a sense, gatekeeping cartoons now? Because they even took off Charlie Brown this year or last year from like the Thanksgiving and Christmas specials and put them on CBS All Access. How do you feel about that?
Mm. That is very interesting that you chose the word gatekeeping, because in some aspects it's like the society's moving farther and farther away from having cable.
Hmm.
So it almost makes sense to have it on streaming platforms. But for me, I see Netflix in particular, and I'm hoping other streaming platforms will tap into this as being really more like um relatively like pioneering and granting exposure for more independent and foreign animated content. So for me, like I would get all that stuff from film festivals, but not everyone will be able to buy the film festival tickets or have the opportunity to go and attend. So I've been able to watch a lot of independent international stuff through Netflix. And I'm hoping to see that more often. And then now with Netflix and Disney Plus kind of starting to have shorts programmings on their streaming platforms, I think that's really going to help to provide more visibility to, like we were saying, a lot of those smaller filmmakers.
That's actually a wonder. You know what? This is why I like having people from with different perspectives in my life because I never would have thought about that angle. I never thought about like, hey, yeah, that gives opportunity for people's films that may not have been seen anywhere else now on this platform with like 18 million users plus per month.
Yeah.
That's really dope.
Hmm.
So now that we've gotten to this point, chat, I want you to think of some questions you want to ask Monique. And while we're waiting, we'll go back to Avatar real quick. Monique, if you had the chance to bend one element or one of the subsidiary elements, like fire has lightning, which one you think you would get?
Well, I am a Cancer, so I would be a water bender. But the idea of blood bending, I think, is really dark, and I would not want to do that at all. I don't want to. I actually think bending electricity is pretty cool and interesting, though. You know,
Yeah,
but
electricity is great.
yeah, I'd be a water bender.
But blood bending, I think I would love that. But I'm spookier than you, so.
Oh man, Genesis in the chat. She is, or she or they is funny.
Women, women blood bend by default. Sips tea. Genesis, yes.
Man.
I think your cousin asked what happened to Adventure Time and Chowder.
Yeah, she should know that Chowder ended because I was very annoyed by that. Chowder ended in a way that they could bring it back, um, and they just not going to. And I'm like, well, just give me the show then.
Yeah,
But Adventure Time, they're kind of doing like a 2.0 on HBO Max.
I think I
Like
did see that.
yeah, the same way like Steven Universe had his like growner version or whatever. That's not even
Hmm.
a real word. Adventure Time is having something like an adjacent story or something like that on HBO
Yeah, I think
Max.
it's with it's not even Finn anymore. It's
Fiona?
Marceline,
Oh,
Marceline and Bubblegum. I think they're together and they're like doing stuff or something. I don't know. I haven't really kept up with Adventure Time that much. I did watch the finale and I was just so confused as to what was going on. It was like this. Have you seen it?
no, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I won't spoil it then.
Oh, I mean, don't spoil it for the chat, but most times I'm all good for spoilers.
Yeah, we'll talk about it after. But
Yeah.
yes, chat. If you have any questions, bring them out. Bring them out, like that song said.
Yeah, I do see something by someone. This was like earlier. I'm scrolling through the chat.
Okay, no problem.
Can I read it?
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Okay, I don't want to butcher this person's name, but it's the one with walnut in their name.
Oh, Inept Walnut.
Yeah. And they're saying that in their area they have a middle school, high school called Arts and Communications Magnet Academy. And do we have something like that in New York? And we do. We have a lot of stuff like that. And that's the thing that's kind of unfortunate because kids would go to that and they wouldn't go any farther, you know? And it's just like, well, why not? What's happening to these kids? Why they can't continue the art, their art dreams? And it could be like family, it could be money. It's like, unfortunately, a whole bunch of stuff. And because of the school systems, and I mean, I don't know how much of your business you want out there, but like you've worked in schools or with schools and stuff like that. And you
Correct.
know that it can be hard for like outside organizations to try and bring stuff to schools because of administration and things like that.
Yeah, I think also it's because there's so many that the funding doesn't get to every single thing, even if one program maybe is slightly better than the other, depending on like where they're located, the access to technology they have, or the staff that they have. Because I've worked with some places where a lot of the artists, the teaching artists, or the educators, like I said earlier, didn't care. They just came there to get the money. They just say, "Hey, draw something real quick." They wait the timeout, and then that's it. And it's bad.
Yeah.
We do have two more questions. Well, these will be the last ones, so we can get up out of here. At least for Monique. This is from DanceArt123. What is your favorite thing about having a podcast? Do you have any advice for wanting to start a podcast?
Awesome. Okay, so shameless plug. I didn't post it yet, but I'm gonna post it. I actually did this interview with Autodesk, which is a company that creates 3D or software for 3D animation, 3D modeling, and stuff like that. And I actually talked a lot about podcast tips with that article, right? But advice for those who are starting a podcast is like you don't need to like drop a rack to start a podcast. You don't need to get a super expensive podcast mic or like a mixer or all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of free audio software. You can get, I think you should still pay like at least $50 for a mic. I don't think you should really go cheaper than that. And a big thing for podcasting is consistency, and not in the sense that you need to do things drop a couple episodes a week or even drop weekly. Like pick your frequency and try and stick to that for a year, and then, or I should say stick to it for 6 months and then adjust accordingly. I still think maybe try it for like a year, you know, because if you go at your consistency for a year, I feel like you're going to see tangible results, you know, that you can then continue to work with. What is it? My favorite part of having a podcast is the people that I end up connecting with. Like sometimes, like my friends at this moment, they listen, but they don't like tell me, or they might not share that they're share the podcast stuff on their social media, which I don't feel a way about. It doesn't matter to me. But they will text me and be like, "Oh, I thought it was really interesting how you said this." And I was like, "You're listening to my show?" So that's also pretty fun, and just the way that like people say that like I'm making animation even though they don't necessarily work in the industry, or they just kind of are a fan of the shows that they're a fan of, that they're starting to look at things a little bit more, paying more attention to the things that's happening in it, like construction wise, or like framing, or what is it, symbolisms, or any sort of stuff like that. And I thought that's been pretty cool.
That's fantastic. And our second and final question for tonight, and thank you for sharing about your podcast as well. I do apologize that we didn't get a chance to talk about fully on that,
Okay.
but obviously we'll probably do something else again where we can chop it up a little bit more. But the second and final question for tonight comes from Inept Walnut. She says that I'm a mom trying to expose my son to diverse creators. Are there any smaller studios that produce kids shows that you would recommend?
I unfortunately am not too aware about smaller studios. However, there's this film festival in New York. It's called the New York International Children's Film Festival. What's that? NYICFF. They should be coming up soon if they haven't started already. And I interned for them years ago, but there's where you can see a lot of a variety of animated stuff for children, from super young to toddlers to more mature stuff that we were talking about. Like if you're familiar with The Breadwinner by any chance, which was about, I would say, a Southeast Asian young girl and her experiences living somewhere that has like war, and she was thinking that she would be better off presenting as a boy, and being able to do things to support her family. So it has things that range, like I said, from all sorts of topics and genres too, because animation is a medium, it's not a genre. And I think that follow the festival, and then you will find the creators that made the stuff, and you'll be able to see more of what they've done.
Fantastic. Walnut and Dancer, thank you for those amazing questions. And to Monique, I want to thank you for coming out tonight. I appreciate you spending time with the channel and chatting with me about all these wonderful things. Where can everyone find you on social media and across the internet?
Yeah, super easy. SimplyRobotix. On Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, everywhere. The podcast is everywhere. And then you're probably going to see me in his chats and Hab Oh's chats. So, don't be a stranger.
Yeah. Yes. So thanks again, everyone. Don't move a muscle. We'll be switching over to some live drawing really soon. While we're on break, please grab some water, and also follow Monique on her channel as well on Twitch. Follow her. She's amazing. But yes, we'll see you guys.
That's so important to have in an industry, right? Representation. And like you said, seeing somebody create something and feeling like you are a part of what they're creating, like seeing yourself within the game or movie or book or comic book or anything like that. And I think a lot of times